Imagine looking up at a crisp, clear winter sky. You are bundled up against the cold, breathing in that sharp air. And because there is zero cloud cover, the visibility stretching out in front of you is just endless. You can see for miles.
Yeah, the perfect conditions for observing the sky.
Right. And then you spot something, and it does not just look strange or, out of place. It actively breaks the established laws of physics and aerospace engineering as we know them.
I mean, it is not just a blurry smudge or a trick of the light.
Exactly.
Yeah.
You are looking at a physical object doing things that, according to literally every textbook we use to build airplanes and rockets, should instantly destroy it.
It really is an incredibly compelling engineering paradox.
Mm.
We spend billions of dollars and decades of research trying to figure out how to safely push materials through the atmosphere at high speeds.
Oh, yeah.
And this object, it just takes everything we know about thermodynamics, fluid dynamics, and structural integrity, and it just completely ignores them.
Well, welcome to the Steep Dive. Today, our topic is the Yokohama Minato Mirai UAP Incident. And we have a massive, fascinating stack of sources to go through for you.
We really do.
We're looking at a comprehensive investigative summary from the Space Phenomena Observatory Center, which goes by the acronym SPOC. We also have detailed observation logs, the exact meteorological data from the moment of the sighting, and a series of photographic evidence that honestly left me completely speechless.
The photos are wild.
They really are. We are talking about side-by-side photographic comparisons of advanced human fighter jets, a glowing anomalous object, and a standard metal Hex-Bolt.
Which is, from a purely aerodynamic standpoint, perhaps the absolute least efficient shape you could possibly try to push through the sky at a high velocity.
Okay, let's unpack this. For you listening, our mission today is not to get lost in, sci-fi tropes or alien abduction theories or wild speculation.
Right, no tinfoil hats today.
Exactly. We are going to treat this event exactly as the investigators did, as a rigorous physical engineering puzzle. We are going to look at the exact data recorded and figure out why this specific hyper-documented sighting has top-tier aerospace experts scratching their heads.
It is all about the data.
But before we can talk about physics-breaking anomalies, we first have to establish the hard facts of what was captured, where it was captured, and how. We have to ruthlessly eliminate the ordinary.
Yeah, I mean, establishing a baseline of reality is the critical first step in any scientific investigation. If you fail to secure the basic environmental and observational data, any conclusion you draw later on is entirely built on sand.
Right.
You absolutely have to lock down the parameters of the event before you can analyze the anomaly itself.
So let's lay out that scene. The date is December 23, 2017. The time is exactly 10.31.59 JST.
Down to the second.
Down to the second. And the location is Minato Mirai, which is a very modern, bustling central business district in Yokohama, Japan. The source materials actually include this gorgeous, sweeping landscape photograph showing the exact vantage point.
Yeah, it really sets the scene.
You are looking east, out over the water, directly toward the United States Navy base. Out in the distance, there is a distinct red circle added to the image, indicating the exact spot in the sky where the object appeared.
And the meteorological data provided in the SPOC report is so vital for understanding that scene. We are not dealing with a stormy night, fog, or low cloud cover that could, obscure the lens or confuse a sensor.
No, not at all.
It was a perfectly clear, crisp morning. Visibility was documented at a massive 30 kilometers, which is about 18.6 miles. The ambient temperature was a chilly 8.6 degrees Celsius, or roughly 47.5 degrees Fahrenheit.
And crucially, this event was not captured by someone randomly trying to hold their smartphone steady while walking their dog.
Thank goodness for that.
Right. The footage and images come from the SID-1. That is an autonomous robotic observatory. It is a dedicated piece of hardware designed to monitor, track, and record atmospheric phenomena systematically, completely removing human error and shaky hands from the equation.
It is objective data.
But I do have to play the skeptic right out the gate here. We have a glowing object in the sky near a highly populated coastal city. My mind immediately goes to the mundane.
Sure.
Could this just be a stray Mylar party balloon reflecting the morning sun? Or maybe a runaway kite? Or even a commercial quadcopter drone someone was flying near the water to get some cool B-roll footage?
Well, asking those questions is the very foundation of the scientific method. We have to test the mundane hypotheses first. But the meteorological data in our sources shuts the balloon and kite theories down completely.
How so?
Because at the precise time of the SID-1 recording, the localized wind was blowing north northeast at a relatively gentle 1.6 meters per second. However, the observation logs painstakingly detailed the object's flight path. It's flying from south to north.
Meaning it is moving steadily and directly against the prevailing wind currents.
Precisely. That trajectory definitively rules out passive, lighter-than-air objects. A balloon, a drifting lantern, or a piece of atmospheric debris is entirely at the mercy of the wind.
Right, it just goes where the air mass takes it.
Exactly. This object was clearly moving under its own directed power. Beyond that, the SPOC investigators applied heavy digital enhancements to the SID-1 footage to analyze the physical structure of this glowing green and white object.
And what did they find?
Well, the enhancements revealed absolutely zero control surfaces. There are no wings. There are no helicopter rotors. There are no quadcopter propellers, no exhaust trails, and no landing gear.
That is wild. It is entirely devoid of the physical mechanisms humans use to generate lift and propulsion. It is just a shape, moving intentionally through the air, completely ignoring the wind direction.
Yeah, it is neither passive atmospheric debris nor a conventional human craft. That inescapable conclusion forces us to look much closer at the mechanics of its flight.
Which means we have to analyze how it is moving through the air.
Right. And that brings us to what I consider the most undeniable, staggering piece of evidence in the entire source packet.
The vapor cone. I mean, since we have established it is moving under its own power, we have to talk about its speed. The photographs captured by the SID-1 show this massive, very distinct cone-shaped cloud forming right at the leading edge of the UAP.
It is unmistakable.
Our sources even include reference photos of conventional human fighter jets, specifically an F-35 generating this exact same type of cloud to show the visual comparison.
This is where we have to dive into the physics of fluid dynamics. What the camera captured is a phenomenon known as a Prandtl-Glauert singularity.
Also known as a vapor cone.
Exactly. When an aircraft accelerates through the atmosphere and approaches the speed of sound entering what we classify as transonic or supersonic speeds, it physically pushes the air molecules out of its way so rapidly that the air actually compresses violently at the front of the craft.
I want to break down the mechanics of that for a second because understanding the pressure change is key here. Think of opening a brand new, highly pressurized 2-liter bottle of soda.
Oh, this is a good comparison.
When you twist that cap and suddenly release the pressure, you often see a little wisp of white mist form at the top of the bottle. You are dealing with a sudden, extreme drop in pressure, and that rapid change causes the ambient water vapor to instantly condense into visible liquid droplets.
Right.
So the aircraft is doing something similar, but on a massive, violent scale, right?
That is an excellent way to visualize the mechanism. The compression at the leading edge of the aircraft creates a massive shock wave. Immediately behind that shock wave, there is a localized region of extreme sudden low pressure and a corresponding plunge in temperature.
So it just gets instantly freezing cold right there.
Yeah. And if the relative humidity in the surrounding air is just right, that sudden plunge in temperature forces the invisible water vapor in the air to instantly condense into a visible cloud. Because the shock wave is radiating outward from the nose of the craft, the resulting cloud forms a perfect, distinct cone shape surrounding the vehicle.
Visually, it honestly looks like a ballerina's tutu made of dense cloud that just briefly forms around the waist of the jet as it punches through the invisible barrier of the air. It is a stunning display of aerodynamics in action.
It really is beautiful, and it is a flawless visual indicator of extreme velocity. You simply do not get a Prandtl-Glauert singularity unless an object is moving at transonic speeds.
So how fast are we talking?
Well, depending on the exact altitude and ambient temperature, that means the object has to be traveling somewhere in the neighborhood of 600 to 768 miles per hour.
Here's where it gets really interesting. We have the reference photo of the F-35 fighter jet generating its vapor cone, and then we have the SID-1 photo of the UAP generating its vapor cone.
Side by side.
The F-35 is an absolute marvel of aerodynamic engineering. It is essentially a flying needle. It is sleek, its wings are swept back, and every single inch of its fuselage is meticulously designed to slice through the atmosphere and survive those intense aerodynamic forces.
This is built for that exact environment.
But the UAP in the images, well, it is none of those things. It is the literal opposite of aerodynamic.
What's fascinating here is that this brings us to the core contradiction of this entire deep dive. If this object is genuinely moving fast enough to generate a transonic vapor cone, its physical shape makes its very existence a glaring paradox under our current understanding of physics.
Let's talk about that shape. The sources provide a rigorous redline analysis of the object's contours. The investigators traced the physical edges of this glowing object, and it revealed a distinctly flat, blunt hexagonal leading face.
This is strange.
There is a literal image in our source packet comparing the front of this UAP directly to the blunt head of a standard hardware store hex head flange bolt. It looks like a giant piece of construction hardware flying backward through the sky.
Yeah, and how violently this specific shape conflicts with the concept of the heat wall is just mind-boggling.
The heat wall.
Yes. In terrestrial aerospace engineering, the heat wall refers to the thermal barrier. When you push an object through the atmosphere at transonic speeds, as we discussed, the air in front of it gets incredibly compressed.
Let's ground that in everyday physics again for you listening. Think of a manual bicycle pump. When you push the handle down rapidly to fill a tire, you are compressing the air inside the cylinder.
Right, and it gets hot.
Exactly. If you touch the bottom of the pump after doing that a few times, the metal is physically hot to the touch. Compressing a gas generates heat. So when an aircraft compresses the atmosphere at 700 miles per hour, it generates massive amounts of thermal energy.
The frictional heat and the heat from air compression are staggering. This is exactly why human-engineered supersonic craft, like the Concorde or modern fighter jets, require those long, needle-like pointed noses.
To pierce the air.
Yes, they have to pierce the air gradually to disperse the pressure wave and minimize that thermal buildup. If you are building a structure out of standard aerospace aluminum alloys, your absolute structural integrity limit is about 155 degrees Celsius.
Oh, wow, that is not that hot.
Not at all. If you push the airframe past that thermal limit, the metal begins to weaken, warp, and will eventually suffer catastrophic structural failure in midair.
Now, apply that to the object in the photos. Imagine taking a blunt, flat, hexagonal shape, literally the flat head of a bolt, and trying to push it through the atmosphere at transonic speeds.
It makes no sense.
It is like trying to expertly fillet a fish with a sledgehammer. You are not slicing through the medium, you are just slamming a flat wall into it.
Right. You are maximizing air resistance and therefore maximizing aerodynamic drag. The resulting pressure wave from pushing a flat hexagon at 700 miles per hour would be unimaginably enormous.
The heat would just be off the charts.
The thermal absorption at that flat leading face would be immediate and catastrophic. Under the known laws of fluid dynamics and thermodynamics, pushing an unstreamlined, blunt shape to those speeds should result in immediate structural disintegration.
It should just explode.
The forces should either melt it, crush it, or tear it apart into shrapnel in a matter of seconds. Yet the observation logs from the SID-1 show this object maintaining perfectly stable, level flight.
I have to jump in here and play the skeptic one more time because my brain is desperately trying to find a loophole in the data.
Go for it.
The red line analysis absolutely shows a hexagon, but we are looking at an image captured through a camera lens. Anyone who has ever watched a sci-fi movie knows all about lens flares. Could this flat hexagonal shape just be an optical illusion?
Like an artifact from the camera.
Yeah, is it possible we are just looking at a camera glitch, like an aperture ghosting effect from the sensor pointing at a really bright spherical light in the sky?
That is a brilliant line of questioning, and it is the exact forensic path an optical engineer would take to debunk the image.
Yeah.
To understand why we can rule that out, we have to look at the mechanics of how a camera aperture actually works.
Okay.
In almost all traditional camera lenses, the aperture, which is the iris that opens and closes to let light in, is made up of overlapping physical metal blades. Often there are 6 or 8 straight metal blades, which interlock to create a hexagonal or octagonal opening.
Oh, I see. And when a bright, intense light enters the lens at a very specific angle, that light bounces off the internal glass elements and physically reflects the geometric shape of those metal blades onto the image sensor.
Right, giving you a glowing hexagon floating in the photo.
Got it.
It is a very common artifact in photography. But here is why that perfectly logical explanation completely fails in this specific case. The technical notes provided in the SPOC investigation exhaustively detail the hardware architecture of the SID-1 observatory.
And what do they say about the lens?
Well, the SID-1 was intentionally built utilizing an open-type image sensor with a lens system that has absolutely 0 physical aperture blades. There is no mechanical iris mechanism inside the device.
Wait, really? Which changes the entire equation.
It does. Because there are no straight metal blades to form a hexagonal aperture inside the camera, it is optically and physically impossible for the lens system to generate a hexagonal internal diffraction pattern.
So it cannot be a lens flare.
The camera physically cannot produce a hexagonal lens flare because the shape does not exist within its hardware.
Let that sink in for a second. The camera is not creating the hexagon through a trick of the light. The camera is faithfully recording an object that is genuinely physically shaped like a Hex-Bolt.
The geometry is not an artifact. It belongs to the physical object itself, navigating the sky over Yokohama.
That is absolutely wild.
Right.
Let's summarize exactly where the data has led us so far. We have confidently ruled out weather phenomena or drifting debris because the object is flying intentionally against a prevailing headwind. We have ruled out conventional human aircraft or drones because digital enhancements prove there are no wings, propellers, or control surfaces. We have ruled out a camera glitch or lens flare because the specific bladeless hardware of the SID-1 makes that optical illusion impossible.
We have checked all the boxes.
And we have thoroughly established that its blunt, flat shape completely violates the known rules of thermodynamics and aerodynamics to survive transonic flight. So the ultimate question is, who is actually analyzing all of this impossible data, and what is their final official conclusion?
Well, the primary investigation was conducted by the Space Phenomena Observatory Center. It is crucial to examine the credentials of the individuals running this analysis to understand the weight of their conclusions.
Who are we talking about here?
The director of SPOC is Hiroshi Kitajima. He brings a serious, heavy-hitting technology background to the table. He is the former CEO of major Western IT firms operating in Japan, including heavyweights like Intel and Netscape.
Okay, so this is a man whose entire career has been built on understanding complex hardware architectures, advanced sensors, and rigorous data processing. He is not prone to flights of fancy.
Not at all. Furthermore, the special advisor to SPOC on this specific incident is Akira Kurosaki, a highly respected former professor at the University of Tokyo.
These are real academics.
Exactly. These investigators are not amateur enthusiasts making guesses on an internet forum. They are applying strict, rigorous scientific and forensic methodologies to the raw data provided by the observatory.
These are experts with serious reputations. And what is the official verdict they put their names on?
They have officially categorized this object as a geometric class UAP of high scientific interest. Their final conclusion is incredibly stark. Because the object maintains stable, high-velocity flight against the wind while possessing a completely anti-aerodynamic structure that somehow defies catastrophic thermal failure, they conclude it must be of non-terrestrial origin.
Wow. When experts with backgrounds at Intel and the University of Tokyo declare that an object operates outside the boundaries of human engineering capabilities, we have to step back and look at the broader implications of that statement.
If we connect this to the bigger picture, it fundamentally challenges the absolute limits of terrestrial aerospace engineering. Every single airplane, rocket, and ballistic missile we design is dictated by the punishing limitations of our atmosphere.
We fight the air constantly.
We do. Human civilization spends billions of dollars researching new, exotic, heat-resistant alloys. We spend years running models in supercomputers and physically testing shapes in massive wind tunnels, all just to squeeze out a tiny bit more speed and aerodynamic efficiency.
And then this thing just shows up.
Yeah, this object casually demonstrates that there's a way to entirely bypass the thermal barrier and the laws of aerodynamic drag.
So what does this all mean? Why should you, listening to this right now, care about a strange photograph from a winter morning in 2017 in Japan?
It is a good question.
Because this is not just an entertaining story about a blurry light doing loops in the dark. This is a meticulously recorded, mathematically verifiable instance of a physical object casually breaking the foundational rules we rely on every single day.
The very rules we stake our lives on.
Yes, the same rules of physics that keep the commercial airplanes we fly in from falling out of the sky. The same rules that dictate how we launch satellites into orbit. This anomalous object is a living, flying piece of proof that our current understanding of physics is fundamentally incomplete.
It really makes you pause.
There is a whole other level of engineering and material science out there that humanity has not even begun to grasp.
It is a profoundly humbling realization. Humanity tends to think we have the physical mechanics of the universe mostly figured out.
Oh, we love to think we know it all.
Right, and then a glowing Hex-Bolt flies past a coastal city, generates a transonic vapor cone, and proceeds to completely rewrite the textbooks, just to prove us wrong.
It is staggering when you put all the pieces together. Let's do a quick recap of the journey the data took us on today. We started on a freezing, perfectly clear December morning in Yokohama, with nearly endless visibility. We looked at data from an autonomous robotic camera that captured an impossible event, a flying, glowing Hex-Bolt.
We tracked its trajectory, too.
Right, as it pushed steadily and intentionally through a headwind. We analyzed the visual proof of a transonic vapor cone, confirming extreme sound barrier pushing speed,
And we explored the shape.
and how its flat, blunt face should have caused massive thermal buildup and catastrophic drag, yet it flew perfectly stable, laughing in the face of friction and the heat wall that should have instantly melted it into a shower of slag.
This raises an important question.
I am ready for it. Where does this leave us?
Well, if this blunt, flat, mathematically disastrous hexagonal object can move at transonic speeds without burning up and without tearing itself apart from the massive air pressure it should be generating, perhaps our entire approach to analyzing it is flawed.
Flawed how?
Perhaps the object is not actually interacting with the atmosphere at all.
Walk me through that. We literally just spent time talking about the vapor cone. The vapor cone proves it is hitting the air, doesn't it?
The vapor cone absolutely proves the atmosphere is reacting to something. A shock wave is being generated. But what if the object's core technology is not just an incredibly strong, heat-resistant metal alloy?
What else could it be?
What if the propulsion system is actively generating a localized environment around the craft itself? Imagine an advanced technology that alters the space-time immediately surrounding the hull, effectively isolating the physical metal of the craft from the brutal friction of our sky.
Oh, like a force field?
Sort of.
Yeah.
It could be generating a localized vacuum or a gravitational envelope that violently pushes the air molecules out of the way before the atmosphere ever actually touches the physical surface of the Hex-Bolt.
So the immense pressure wave and the vapor cone we see in the photographs are not the result of the air violently hitting the flat metal bolt. It is the air hitting the invisible protective bubble of altered physics surrounding the bolt.
Exactly. The craft itself is sitting inside that envelope, completely untouched by the drag or the heat.
It is not flying through the air, it is moving the air around a bubble.
Precisely. It forces us to rethink everything we assumed about the event. It means we are likely not just looking at a highly advanced airplane with a weird shape.
We might be looking at a deliberate manipulation of space-time itself, happening right there in the clear morning sky over Minato Mirai.
It really redefines what we think is possible.
That is a staggering, paradigm-shifting thought to leave on. A flying bubble of altered physics protecting an impossible shape. I absolutely love it. Well, that is what we have for you today on this deep dive. We hope this rigorous exploration of the Yokohama Minato Mirai UAP incident has given you something fascinating to chew on. Keep looking up, keep questioning the world around you, and remember that sometimes the most rigid laws of science are just waiting for the exact right anomaly to come along and break them. Until next time, stay curious.